Welcome to the Growers Mineral Podcast. This episode features audio from our most recent conference call. Each month, we host a live discussion on Zoom, bringing together farmers, agronomists, and industry experts to share insights on soil health, crop nutrition, and sustainable farming practices. For more information about Growers Mineral or to join our next call, visit growersmineral.com. And now, enjoy the discussion.
Good evening, everyone. We are joining you I'm joining you from Michigan tonight, and we have some of our reps joining us from Wisconsin. Chris Coles and Jim Halbeisen have just been through there this week, and we have some interesting trials set up out there. It looks like we have 25 people on tonight so far, so starting to break in the weather. And with that, do I have Nelson Weaver or Kervin Weaver on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Nelson is with me here too, so he'll be on the same number here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. We spoke earlier today and yesterday with some of you guys, and would like to hear what you have to say from your part of the world and your previous year's experience, because it's the calendar picture has the Wisconsin crew. There's Daniel Wolf and David Armstrong on there as well, but let's start with Nelson and Kervin.
Are we coming through all right?
Yes, I can hear you good.
Okay. Well, I don't know that, what do you want to hear? We're up here north and the snow is flying and it doesn't look good for the next couple of days. So we're froze up. So that's a little bit how I feel about expressing myself. You know, it's winter and we're uptight. No, I don't know where to start really, but yeah, we're just basically farmers up here. But I was thinking a little bit over milking time here of a topic that I heard. It was actually, I can't think of his name right now, but we use the terms a lot. You know, we're just farmers. We're just farmers. But this guy basically pointed out, we're farmers. You know, get with it. You know, we're farmers. And you know, that kind of stuck with me because really, if it wouldn't be for us farmers, you know, the world is, yeah, if the farmers wouldn't be here, what would we have? I mean, so we're more than just farmers, you know, if we get that. I just thought I'll share that. But no, in this area here, we're dairy. Go ahead.
I think a good point to highlight there is there's actually a lot of excitement from the consumer now, especially about a farmer that's raising a better quality product than they've been able to get a lot of places. I get questions all the time about where to get a good product.
I'm pretty sure if I could think of his name, you would know the guy that had this topic presentation, and that was last winter. But anyway, and that is basically where he was coming from, the creativeness of the farmers. They do their own study, they do their own experiment, and moving forward and stuff like that. And that is what I thought I'll bring out here a little bit tonight on a little different avenue. Yeah, we're dairy farmer. We got a chicken barn, and being that Jim and, well, maybe they're listening in, but yeah, I'm sure they are, but our pencils got sharpened again yesterday. We felt pretty good, and just in clarifying some of the avenues again, and of how all these microbes and that communication and how all that functions and how it can be damaged by mistreatment of over nitrogen and all that. And my mind was always wrapped around these but it was clarified again, and I'm more convinced than ever Well, I had to have nutrient management when we put up the chicken barn, and so I just took soil samples again. Yes, I know they say they're worthless, but yet at the same time, it gave my base saturation and all of that, and I was kind of impressed where I was. That one sample I had was an 86% base saturation and only a 12 mag, but I came to the conclusion I'm not putting on tons and tons of lime, but at the same time the chicken litter has some calcium in. We're using that on the farm, but at the same time I'm also not robbing my calcium from over nitrogen from commercial or whatever. And I'm more convinced than ever that that is what is happening here on our farm. That I can maintain that or where my base saturations are at, and the quality that we're getting off of that. And if I'm understood right, contradict me if I'm thinking wrong. But yeah, that is kind of my own thought pattern. But as of moving fast forward here, we are always looking on forages for quality and where we're at, and our focus is to get better, and sometimes we struggle with that. We're not getting quite what we want, but as of this next year, well, Jim and them met Ben Lively yesterday at the meeting, and I didn't say anything, I don't think, on that, but it's our nutrition. But what we're going to be doing on one of the avenues this next year is different sources of calcium. That is, it's all kinds. It's I can't name them all now quickly, but some is going to be straight gypsum and different SO4, and the people that are selling this, they're actually giving it to him to do a couple trials. The one trial is going to be done on a 20-year growers customer farmed the way it should have been these last 20 years. We didn't want a lot of variation of what a person is doing, so we'll be going in on those. That farm is the one. But I also said, well, if we're going to be doing that, I want to have growers applied to that. It was growers, but it's going to be the growers is also going to be in the spotlight on all of those different trials, and that's going to be interesting, and that's going to be on the, and hopefully we have data to show that. That is one of the goals and one of the things that we're going to be doing this next summer.
That's exciting
so
to
where
hear
that.
And so it sounds like various products and various rates. One of those is a pelletized lime, pelletized gypsum, I believe, and then probably
But
standard
they're all
lime.
going to be forage. They'll all be forage samples. You know, it came in my mind tonight. I didn't address or didn't bring this out, but it just over milking time I thought about. Should we take soil samples in every one of them plots? I don't know. It was just a thing that popped in my head tonight. Would it tell us more? I don't know. I don't know where that one. What do you think, James?
Oh, I would be happy to, yeah, I think that could be helpful information, and even samples before we place the trial could be helpful. So I'm certainly willing to chat with you more. And this is a good thing in general to look at. Knowing what you're walking into is a big help when setting up a trial.
It's basically being, the quality of the forage, what it's going to be changing or what is changing. That is our focus, to see what if anything changed or if it doesn't change. That's our goal. That's our goal. So. Else from that, what else do you want to know? We're farmers, right?
Fair enough. Well, I guess let's revisit quickly. So Kervin mentioned to me today that you really don't put any nitrogen on, so I have shared, if you can see that, pictures that he shared with me last summer from, this is corn here. And if I heard him right today, there's no applied nitrogen besides the nitrogen coming out of the rotation and the manure.
On the samples that I sent you?
Well, I'm just showing off your corn silage pictures you sent me here.
Okay. Yep.
I don't know if you're seeing that.
No, that field did not have extra nitrogen. It was corn on sod, an old pasture. So it should have had excess nutrients regardless of which way you looked at it.
Which is great. It's good to highlight that we're using the biology.
So that did not have any manure. It was just pasture. Old pasture, corn on the old pasture. And when you walked into that field this summer, you could see all the earthworms, and the earthworms are taking the decomposing corn leaves, down the wormholes.
We don't see that in too many fields in agriculture.
Right. I mean, we've seen quite a bit of that this last year. I'm not sure if it was the year that made a difference or not. I don't know. But if you really observed it, you could notice. You had to look for it. It was there, but it's something you don't see as often.
So we kind of feel we're on the right track, so with what's happening around here, but we always try to get better, and that I think should be everybody's focus. And always don't get comfortable where you're at. Try to keep pushing forward for getting better. So that's basically the goal we're trying, or what we're trying to hang on to. So
now, when you do some custom foliar feeding too?
We do a little bit on the side, yes.
Okay. Sprayer applications, full broadcast coverage then? Or
it's generally what I generally run is it's generally from 2 to 3 gallons of growers with a total of 15 gallons per acre. Okay. Is generally what I run.
We were running straight punt water. We would like to put a water system in yet. We just haven't totally decided what yet. We're battling with that one yet, and there's so many different options and which is the best. What should you do? We want to do something yet before. We don't have a lot of time yet, but it's snowing, so I think we have a couple months yet. So
nice. And you also mentioned trials with, was it pelletized lime or pelletized gypsum in the planter, 2x2 dry?
Oh, that was down with my other son. We a couple of years ago we got another farm, but that farmer was very concerned that we're farming on the more or less the biological approach, and he was of course dry. So we bought that planter and put a liquid setup on, so we left the dry attached. The first year we did use the corn dry fertilizer, which what they recommended with our growers on the seed. We weren't happy. And then the last year we just simply bought gypsum lime, granulated gypsum, and putting that on at 140 pounds an acre, and two by two, then where the dry fertilizer would go, that went the just straight gypsum, and we were more happy with that than we were with the dry fertilizer. Then we try to get a foliar feed on there too, 5 gallons roughly on the seed, and then we try to get, if we can, 2 foliar feeds, but definitely 1. And and we were very happy last year. We had 24 tons an acre corn silage, which is good for our area.
So if I do the rough math, let's say we started with $300 a ton pelletized gypsum, which is a rough number for it. Might be a little less, a little more. That's only $21 an acre of a pass. That's a pretty economical dry program, and it's a change from what most have been doing. and it's right
Yeah.
next to the plant. That's not an insurmountable task. A lot of acres should be doing that if they have dry. Not too many do,
So
but
that's the plan for next year, this year again too. So we were happy with that. We were happy with that. So
do we want to talk
helping with
about
that.
your
Go
do you
ahead.
want to talk about your other trial that's at least started but not conclusive with data?
Well, it's that's on the sauerkraut chop subcheck. Yeah, that's another one that's coming up, and where that one's going to go, we don't know, but it's all set up for that, and according to what they would say, that it would neutralize, or if that's say it right, the glyphosate in the soil, and there again, it's we feel, or we have thought already, why sometimes we don't get the right elements or the right nutrients in our forages the way we should, and I always felt there could be a tie up there, and if you would talk with Don Huber on some of these subjects, there's no doubt and no question in his mind. He doesn't hesitate. He just strikes on that right instantly. That is our problem. So that is the trial that also is ahead of us. They would recommend 15 gallons an acre of sauerkraut juice on the field, and you could probably lay out that scientific reasoning behind that better than I can. But that is also our goal. We took soil samples from that before spraying, and those samples are in the freezer, and we'll be taking some again later on to see if those levels changed or not. You have to take them to a separate lab, but and it's a little expensive to do it, but we're going to do a couple just to see for our own curiosity, but also we're going to be analyzing forage samples in that very process. We're not just going to work out of the soil. Don Huber said in the cornfields that's going in corn, he just said do tissue testing before tassel, and that is the plan. So our plate is kind of full for this year. I'm sure hoping we can get everything done in the timely manner, what we're moving forward with. And I'm hoping that we have positive results, not just for better function in your soils, and that'll break things down better and have a better action and whatever the right word, utilization in your forages and better quality. I don't know. I have absolutely don't know where this thing is going to be going.
Dr. Huber talks about that glyphosate is inhibiting micronutrient uptake as well as many other in the shikimate pathway. And if you want to read about it, you can Google a soggy sauerkraut paper.
Yeah.
Soggy sour, and I'd be glad to send it.
We'll definitely be testing on those various samples. Again, we feel our nutrition there is working with all these, and he knows it's going to take samples, and he's willing to work with it all. The toxicities and all that is going to be checked in every one of these. That is our goal, just because of the way they claim the tie-up, what it's all creating it. And where it's going to go, we're hoping to have data to show. Hopefully we have data that shows. Our first step in that avenue was we treated our corn silage in 2 different silos, in the 2 different farms before and after, and it was both positive. It was better energy and better digestibility in both samples. So it's that is what intrigued us right off. It was not negative just from the first thing we did. And but where the rest is going to go, we do not know. We're just going, well, you said that, James, there also. You had soil results, and yeah, I'm hoping I see the same. I just simply do. And we just felt do trials.
If you're talking about that
on your
data,
own farm, go ahead.
He showed an 80% reduction in soil levels.
Yep.
And herbicide rates are climbing because of the plant not being or metabolizing what's in the soil and being able to tolerate that much because there's so much saturation in a lot of acres. So even if one continues to use it, you'll probably see better herbicide efficacy by doing this sauerkraut treatment. So they're not real far into it, only a few years, but they have good data so far, and they're encouraging more. And it's a byproduct.
The part that blew my mind on that one was, even if a person, well, you see in those organic results, basically, if I would be strictly organic here, and I'm on conventional corn on my chicken barn here, and well, there's 200, almost 300 tons of manure coming out of there, lots of feed, and Don Huber basically just said you're contaminating your soil just by what goes through that feed, and that one blew my mind a little bit. But yeah, he said you're basically contaminating your soils just by what per feed you're feeding, and and that proved itself there on that organic farm. The soil test they had on that one that time. So yeah, that is the mission we're on. We're farmers, so that is where we're at, and hopefully we have data that we can bring some of this stuff to light. I don't know, this fall. I don't know. I'm hoping we see results. Maybe it'll fall flat on its nose. I do not know, but that is where we're at. What we're going to be playing with. So, yeah. So what else?
I appreciate it. I think we have a lot going on in the big picture of the world economics, and I just see a snippet today that there's speculation that urea will spike to well over $1,000 a ton.
Wow.
So I think that's worth looking at, perhaps sooner than later, if a guy does use some. Or this is a really good opportunity to do something like plant oats and peas ahead of a crop early and grow some nitrogen. It's really good for your soil biology, and it's cheap nitrogen. And I would recommend a stronger rate than a lot of cover crop rates. I would go 4 bushel of oats. You don't have to, but it suppresses more weeds and you get more soil action by having a thicker stand.
You have to remember we're up north. We're up north here, and we got a short growing season. We don't have a lot of room for a lot of extras. It's
fair. Yeah, and some are adjusting lengths of growing degree days or maturity days a bit, and it may not be possible real far north too.
Yeah, I like that concept. If we could do all those things, but I fear it's a little. Yeah, there's organic farmers around here, but that doing all this cover crop things, and I give some of those grade A for their credit for their efforts. I mean, I don't know. I shake my head, but I give them grade A for their effort. But
well, looking at your corn here, I don't think you're not lacking on nitrogen regardless. So I don't know that you even need it.
Not on that field, no. That field was definitely the number one. I mean, I really didn't take any yield numbers off them, but I was just intrigued by the way that field put cobs on its stalks. But another thing, to point out with this high nitrogen prices, why wouldn't you try and encourage your biology? It's all going to work for you.
Exactly. Well said, Kervin. We're about 9:25. If anyone else would like to,
can you hear me?
Yes, Chris. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Kervin and Nelson, we did that meeting for you this week. I want you guys to comment on the reception of the farmers about, the different points that we made on the biology of the soil.
Oh boy, the turnout was very well. I mean, we had, of course, with everybody that was there, but yeah, there was over 40 people at our meeting, and the turnout was very great. And I can tell you one thing, Jim, there was a 600 gallon order account of that meeting, so I can share that with you. It was not negative. The guys are shopping around, and they're skeptical, and with all this, and this particular guy, well, you know him, you were on his farm earlier.
Yep.
And he greeted him as he went out the door, and he had not bought yet this year, and he checked prices and everything on other products, and he came to a commitment again at the meeting that I don't want to do anything different. So it was positive. Biological wise, well, yeah, it made sense. It made sense to him. So is that answering your question?
The idea, guys, is, to give them options, and if James is right, urea goes to $1,000. This is a very viable option for them. So, and they're paralyzed with fear, but they got to go to the field. And I think your guys are doing a nice job showing them you can be whittling on that nitrogen once you get that biological functioning.
So yeah, it was a positive meeting. Hopefully more will materialize, but yeah, it definitely persuaded one person that was in the balances, so that should encourage you too. So yeah, it was good.
And well said, Jim.
Excellent
By paralyzed by fear there seems to be a lot of that. A lot of
yep.
inputs are high. In the peanut region, they were talking about losing $250 an acre if they did the textbook recommendations. Yep. But a lot of our guys are earning the right to not do that.
James, I think the thing that we're trying to tell farmers is, look, you don't have to do everything that we're telling you or all your acres, what we're telling you, but you have a very good option to try some acres. And if you see success and can figure it out, that fear paralysis starts to go away a little bit. And so if urea constantly goes to $1,000 a ton, you've got an option.
We come back to that farmer mentality. We're not just farmers that we have to rely on all these agronomists. We're farmers. We can we can look at these things and kind of figure them out ourselves if we put them in that scope. Really, we are farmers. We can figure some of this stuff out, but to venture out, people don't trust it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are farmers. Farmers are the one that spend the most time in the field observing a crop.
Well, a lot of them do what they're told, as far as agronomy wise, or so forth and so forth. And it's a tough one. I don't know it, but they can do probably with less. Don't want to knock agronomists, but if Justin Keith's presentation there a little bit on where he came from, or Chris there, and what he had, in the field where he was at before he came to growers, and all that high pep talk and just out to make sales, that gets to be scary, but we realize that is the high pep, and as us farmers, we still have the choice to do what we want to do, I guess, but like I said, I'm more convinced than ever that we can make a difference.
I think one thing I did forget to mention was that I believe there's still a discount going on that's extended. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's 6% through the end of the month.
March 27th,
There's 27.
6%.
All right.
Yep.
This is
And then if-
Kervin Weaver here, and I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I didn't hear a lot on this line about grazers, but if my pastures and hay fields are on the growers program and have the calcium like they should have and so forth, and I can see the dark green spots from the cow pies and so forth, is that a good indicator that it could use some nitrogen?
I think that's an area of high biological activity. You're talking around the cow pies?
So it's dark green around the cow pies, and the rest of the field is more pale green and not growing as well. Is that an indicator that we could use an application of nitrogen?
I guess it would depend on how pale the pasture is, and how the age of the pasture is a big factor too there. If Jim, you want to comment, feel free, but without seeing it, it's knowing how green or how pale. And you have a lot of biological activity around the edge of a cow pie too, so it's going to show a big difference.
Are the cows eating that though? Are the cows eating that grass around that paddy? It seems kind of they shy away, so it must be. Is it overload, or how do you explain that?
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I rotational graze, so I don't keep them more than 3 days on each grass, and it'll be a month later, 3 to 4 weeks later, back again. And I also rotate my horses through, and they eat around each other's.
Mm-hmm.
Usually,
So cow pie might be.
when you've got that very dark green, you've got excessive nitrogen that has come up into the plant. And again, that's going to give you more volume. But again, what is the quality of that is your sugar being diluted down. It's always been our experience. And the way we always compared it was that if your plant was John Deere green rather than Oliver green, you had a healthier nitrogen ratio in your tissue. Now, if it's getting lower than John Deere green in the rest of the pasture, then maybe a little bit of nitrogen would be helpful. But that jet green is usually excess nitrogen expressing itself through the tissue. And Nelson brought up a very good point. A lot of times the animals won't eat that. And see, it looks like you got more volume because they're not consuming it, because you've got that imbalance of nitrogen in there. You read crude protein on that, it'll be sky high, but see, crude protein, you only measure nitrogen and multiply by a calculation factor. It's not a measurement of true protein. So again, I think James is right saying, how light is that green in the rest of the pasture, and is there a tremendous difference in the growth? And you got to be observant of your animals of what they're doing. If they're totally ignoring around the cow pies and then picking up the excessive consumption out in the middle of the field, that's definitely it's gonna have an effect on that volume out there. So you got to see exactly what they're up to. But that jet green doesn't mean that you might have more volume, but the quality of it is just not there. And the animals will recognize that. You got them in that rotational grazing like that. We see that in hay samples. It looks like beautiful hay, fantastic test. The animals don't want to eat it. So again, you can't fool them. That's the trick.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And so it's not healthy for your crop or your bottom line to have that a whole solid dark green, but you don't want to get too pale.
Right. So that again, I think watching what they're doing, and then looking at your growth. And the yellow can get enough, it's more like the John Deere yellow than the John Deere green. Now that might be a little bit of an issue. And see, then at that point, trying to figure out the volume of nitrogen you need to get the volume back that you want, but you don't want to injure the quality. See, that's what's so nice about foliar spraying. When you put that phosphorus on there with the nitrogen and the traces, that sucks into the plant. But now you got a better balance. You're getting more sugar, and you're putting that nitrogen in there in a better concentration so that it has more feed value for the animal. You're raising energy. See, that's the deal. And if you get that excess nitrogen, that lowers that sugar level in there, you're working against your position.
So that young farmer yesterday, Jim, that came out with that feeding that 24% hay to his cows, was on the growers program for many, many years, and he said his heifers can take in that 24% protein haylage, dry hay, and it's totally fine. If he buys some from the market and has the same 24% protein, the heifers can't handle it. They get loose.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely. That's your soil test right there. We had a guy at the meeting for Daniel Weaver today. All he wanted to talk about is brother's horses and how nice they look, how slick they look. And the agronomist told him that he needed more fertilizer. And he said, well, you look at my horses, that's my soil test. And so the agronomist had some horses of his own, and the guy said they look pretty skanky. And he said, hey, your soil test isn't looking very good there. So I think that's very well said.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that and asking. It's something we do. Yeah, any grazing or other crops, by all means, feel free to ask questions because there's a lot of row crop acres out there, but in the protein market is hot. The cattle herd is not as big as it needs to be, and the demand is high. Budgets might be tight on the lower end of the consumer market, but the demand is there. And a quality raised product is definitely sought out. There's feedlots in the West that have actually closed down because there aren't enough animals to fill them. So, using a product in a lick wheel is a great place. We definitely change up the mineral program some, and then use growers itself in a lick wheel, and it's registered for ruminant livestock consumption. And then in some states, I think it's actually registered for chickens in the Delmarva Peninsula. Plenty of other crops it's used on as well. Sure.
Scott McIver here.
Howdy, Scott.
I know in the past, back when we were hitting on all cylinders and we had 225 beef cows, there was a couple springs we ran out of hay. And with our farm, it's just we were on the growers program with the lime and the foliar feeding. And there was a couple of years we ran out of hay and we had to buy hay. And we had the double bale feeders, and we put both. I put one of the growers, our hay in with the hay that we bought, and they would lick down and they would eat the rotten part of the bale of our hay before they would touch the hay that we bought. And it's just that proved to me.
You can't fool them, Scotty.
No. it's just that cow is a test.
Yep.
The cow is a test. Right. And they know what they need. It's just they know what they need. And how shall I put it? They can smell a skunk in the woodpile.
Well said. Well said.
Scotty, the problem is they can't read the book. So they're working with their senses from Mother Nature, and she doesn't have a website, so that's a problem. So there you go.
It's just they know more than we do on occasion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Scott's farm has I saw that in summer of 24. It was quite impressive to see how healthy the corn was. There's hay in rotation. Long time growers. How many years, Scott, has that farm been on the growers program?
40 plus. 40 plus.
That corn had how many units of N were applied on the
last year? And last year was not the here. Last year we had excessive moisture. But with the corn that I combined with 40 pounds of actual nitrogen across the scales last fall at the elevator, it was like 172 bushels an acre, dry corn.
And I'm assuming that just got lime growers and a little, was that 28%?
No, 28%. It was 40 pounds of actual nitrogen, but it's just a caveat is most of that ground, well, all of that ground had between 8 and 10 tons of the sugar beet lime in the last 3 years. No, 4 years.
Okay.
It had at least 8 tons, and some of it has had 12.
So, Scotty, what James wanted to know is what source of nitrogen did you use to get your 40 pounds?
It was a blend of urea and ammonium sulfate.
Sulfate, yeah, about half and half, right, Scotty?
With the dollars and cents, I didn't spend more than $45 an acre. And I think it was like 2/3 urea.
I gotcha.
And a third ammonium sulfate because I can't be the co-op's marketing opportunity.
Well said.
So, hey, Scotty, have you tried to lock down some urea now, or has your co-op told you that they won't be able to get it for you? Do you have any info on
that? They have sent out the, how shall I put it, marketing brochures. It's just they want me to commit, but I'm refusing to at this point. It's just, I hate it. I hate to make sure that the co-op managers get their bonuses.
No, Scotty, we've got a very good customer in New York talking to John Sesenick today, and they're telling our good customer that he ain't going to be able to get any urea. So he's got to go to a different source, and he's looking at 28%. So he wants them to quote him, they're 28%. They won't do it. They told him they'll give him the quote after they fill his semi with the 28. So they're pretty well trying to lock it down. They still think the Strait of Hormuz is not going to open up, and this thing's going to get higher, like James is talking about. So they want to max out their price on their 28 is the way it looks to our customer. And he's kind of got an attitude like you've got about that. So this is going to be an issue, boys. I'll tell you. Who's got the trust? This is still going to be the issue.
It's just there's multiple skunks in wood piles.
Well said. Well said.
Yep, we're just the farmer. We're farming for the farmer.
It's just, guys. We gotta call her bluff. we can grow a crop without multiple. I mean, we can grow a crop without 200 to 400 pounds of urea, of actual nitrogen. It's just you got to get the lime on. That is the biggest bang for our buck as a farmer. It's just if you can get that calcium working for you to free up the nutrients that is in the dirt that we are tipping over every year.
Sure.
I mean, it just, that's the name of the game. And it just, I'm sorry, but I don't care if that co-op manager gets his bonus or not.
Well said.
It just, no, what's left in my checking account?
Well, that's the name of the game. I appreciate you sharing that, Scott. It was awesome to see that farm and see the health of the crops and the cattle. I think we had fresh mowed hay when we were out there too. That would have been maybe August of 24, if I'm remembering right. It's
Something like that.
Definitely a legacy. And then one of his neighbors shared a picture. Oh, I'm struggling for a name here, but they had a new piece of land and they had a yield monitor, and there was something like 40 bushel difference from the longtime growers managed acres with the lime on versus the new to the farm.
Yep.
And
Is that Rick Law?
That's right.
yes. That was heavy black dirt, I believe, but it might even have been in the 60 bushel difference.
It was pretty steep.
Well,
that's great. I don't know that I have anything else here. If Daniel Wolf or Dave Armstrong from out of Wisconsin want to share anything, feel free, but don't feel obliged. I know Dave was traveling back from Wisconsin.
I'm here. You got me?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I have to add a lot, but if you want some information, I've been working with a guy here this afternoon on a cost per acre program, and well, I guess first part of the day we had a meeting here and had good turnout of new customers and old customers and those that made it known that they want to become a customer. So anyway, it was a good day. Then we had a fellow show up later on this evening that wanted to get price, cost per acre, and he's rotational grazing a small beef herd getting started, and his goal is to build organic matter, and he's wanting to sell beef and grain. So we were just running several different numbers. He'd gotten a price and rates of dry product from a local agronomy center, and so they're wanting to do a 2-pass dry program. We're talking about corn. They was throwing him the numbers of 250 pounds of urea and 125 pounds of AMS, 100 pounds of DAP, 100 pounds of potash. So we and 5 gallons of a row starter.
Thank you for listening to the Growers Mineral Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Growers Mineral for updates. To submit questions for the show, email contact us at growersmineral.com.